Hi, my name is Mellissa Zipp. I have been at Triumphant Lutheran since I was 11 years old, so quite a while. My family and I typically go and worship at the 8:30 service on Sunday mornings. So I was asked to speak to you about the power of words. I'm a school librarian. I've been an educator for 28 years, and 11 of those as a librarian. Just to give you a perspective of where my little talk is going to come from, it is in the role as a librarian. Imagine that, the power of words. So I chose to also talk to you from in my space that I get to spend a lot of time in. So you'll see behind me as we kind of scroll through my library space. It's an amazing space. We opened this school just last year, and in opening it, I was given the privilege of getting to choose every single book that's in this library. I took that responsibility very seriously because choosing books that students are going to read is a very powerful thing because words can be so powerful. So when I think about buying books that students are going to read, I think of a book as either a mirror or window. So when I say mirror, just like when we look in a mirror, we see ourselves. So books that we can see ourselves in. And then a window, the opposite of that, you look through it and you can see other people's lives. You can see what happens to other people. So I just kind of like, from my perspective of what I mean by that a little bit more, is like some mirror books for me. And yes, the book is always better. Not sure if that's backwards or not for you. Like this book, Well, That Was Awkward. This is a story about teenagers, middle schoolers, and what happens to them when a boy crushes on a girl or a girl crushes on a guy, and the awkwardness of that middle school age. And definitely this is a mirror book for me. And when I read it, I thought of all those students that I had that would benefit from reading that type of story as well, where when they look into that book, it kind of affirms for them that they're normal. They have the same feelings, and these feelings are normal, and they're not alone in the world. So that's an example of a mirror book for me. Whereas a book that I would see as a window book for me is stories that haven't happened to me, things that have not happened to me. This was particularly a very powerful story. It is called Speak, and it's about this 8th grader who she's at a party at the beginning or at the end of the summer, and something very devastating happens to her that causes her to call the police. And then all of the kids that were at the party, they get busted and they blame her for it, not knowing what happened to her that made her call the police. And this thing that happened is something that I wouldn't want to happen to any of my students. I recommend this book quite a bit to my middle school students to read. And this last year, I even had the chance to meet the author of this book. And the reason she wrote it was so that those powerful words could help others not face the same devastation that happened to her. Books can be very powerful, either if they're a mirror to be able to give affirmation, or if they're a window to be able to gain perspective of other people's lives. So if I were to tie that into the Bible, because since I am speaking to the church, the congregation, I think I feel like I really need to. And the power of the stories that were chosen to be in the Bible, I kind of think of maybe they were thinking of the role of being a librarian. And just like I choose books that help students see themselves or see others, the stories in the Bible, they help us see who we are and affirm who we are and the feelings that we have. And they help us gain perspective of people that are different. One story that comes in particular for me that is a mirror story for me is the parable of the mustard seed. I can't tell you how many times in my faith life that I have felt that my faith was just that tiny size, and how incredible it is that God works so powerfully in that tiny little space in my life. And how then sometimes it grows, and then sometimes it goes back. But to know that is normal, that other people feel the same way. And Jesus is even telling us this story through his parable. And then I think of a story in the Bible that is a window for me. And that's the story of Saul turning into Paul. And how a man like Saul, who murdered and persecuted other people, that God could still love. I mean, I never have fathomed myself as someone that I go and persecute other people's faith or to murder other people, definitely not. But there are people that are out there. There are people that are angry and people that do evil things, and to know that God still loves them and that they can turn their lives around. And that just helps me to gain that perspective that it's not just all about me and the people that are like me, but there are so many people that are different and that God still loves us. So the power of words, they can help you gain affirmation that your life is normal and you don't feel so alone, and or the words can help you gain perspective of how others may live differently, but that God still loves all of us. We do not have to be the same to be loved by God. We don't have to be the same to be able to love each other. So next time you're reading a great story, either a secular story like the examples I have from my own library, or from the Bible, think of the power of the words have over your thoughts. How do they help affirm who you are? Or how do they help you gain perspective of those that are different than you?